Wow, Willie here. I know you're all tired of looking at me sit on this cushion right in front of this couch with the plants and the window and the clock and I don't know, all the things. I know you're tired of it. But anyways, I haven't made a video in some time. But I have a video for you right now. Perfect truth, perfect faith, how they both work together. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about them. So, playing off of Ken Wilber's theory and using the terms spiritual experience and spiritual understanding, we're going to relate those two terms to our hemispheres in our brain. Spiritual understanding is left brain. That is left brain. And that also we're going to relate to truth. Okay? Spiritual experience, that's right brain. We're going to relate that to faith. Okay? So, self-mastery, I mean, this is it, folks. I mean, you got this brain. And this brain is tricky, okay? It plays a lot of tricks on you. I mean, when you don't know what's real, it's because it's your brain. It's running the show, right? So how do we master this? How do we master this brain? How do we master this experience, this physical structure? Move on to the next one, right? Well, we got a right brain, and we got a left brain, and we got truth, and we got faith, and we got spiritual understanding and spiritual experience, okay? So you have to understand this. If we're talking about it, right? If we're talking about it, it's a concept. And if we're talking about concepts, we're talking about the analytical mind, okay? And the analytical mind deals with truth, okay? So if we really want to get to the bottom of what truth is, we have to understand that truth is things that are seen. Not something that I saw. Not something that I'm telling you that I saw. Something that you saw. Truth is whatever is your own direct experience. That is truth. Your own direct experience. What you see. My truth is what I see. Okay? That's truth. Science says truth is this. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. If I'm creating with my left analytical brain, my spiritual understanding, if I'm creating an understanding based off of what somebody else says, it's not truth. It's not perfect truth. That's not perfect truth. Perfect truth has to be constructed off of your own direct experience, what you see. What you see. Can I see some things that, like what science says? Sure. Can I incorporate those into my own spiritual understanding? Absolutely. Yes. But if anybody says something else, and I didn't see it, that's their truth. It's not your truth. Okay? Now, principles rooted in that concept, that statement, right? That's truth. That is perfect truth. Okay? Well, God says this. God said the Sabbath day is this day. God said this happened so many years ago. Did you see that? Can that be true? Do you know that? Did you see that? Is that truth? No, you didn't. That's not perfect truth. Perfect truth is this moment right now. This moment right now. This moment right now. This moment right now. Whatever you see in this moment right now, this comes in, you synthesize it according to principles based on one of these principles being your own direct experience, truth being what you see. You synthesize that into an understanding, right? And if you consistently, objectively relate these things through your own direct experience, you will arrive at truth principles. And perfect truth principles are the teachings of the Buddha, because he taught based on one's own direct experience. And what you learn from those teachings, you learn three things from those teachings. You learn that everything is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. That's one thing you learn. You learn the nature of suffering. That's another thing you learn. And you learn no self. Those are the three things you learn. Because your own direct experience directly takes you to self-inquiry. right? Because it's your own experience. It's the self. The self is at the root of truth because it's your truth, right? And so what you have is truth equals self-inquiry. And when you inquire upon self, you will discover an explanation for suffering. Because that is the core problem, is suffering. The core problem is suffering, right? Like, I wouldn't need to be here mastering anything and figuring any of this stuff out if life was if there was no problems, right? I watched a video last night and the guy said the Buddha was incredible because he had everything and he left it all. Well, the guy missed out an important part of that story. The Buddha was not happy with having everything. That's why he left it all. So does that make him incredible or does that make him miserable, right? He had a problem and he needed to know and he needed to find out. So he left everything he had to go do so, right? His own experience. I have a problem. If you don't have a problem, you're good. This ain't for you. Right? So you will find an explanation for suffering. Self-inquiry, an explanation for suffering, and that equals truth. Okay? Because, look, so you will learn about suffering because you will get an explanation of suffering. You will understand that suffering is caused by attachment, which is the antithesis of impermanence. And everything is governed by impermanence. So you'll also learn that. And you'll learn through the self-inquiry that there's no self. The concept of self, in my own direct experience, is attachment. I'm attached to this fixed outcome again and again and again and again and again. I'm addicted. I'm addicted to outcomes, right? This is the truth. But that's only half the picture, folks. That's only spiritual understanding. And you have to have experiences in order to be able to synthesize this information from your experiences, right? But it's only half the picture. Because what does faith do? Now, faith is very interesting because it is almost in opposition to truth, but it's not. It works totally conjunctively, perfectly with truth, right? They work together. Because at the heart of the fear of the self, which is at the center of truth, right, is the fear of death. The fear of losing my attached outcome, my fixed outcome. Losing one's fixed outcome is death, okay? So at the heart of truth is the self, right? Because it's your own experience. You examine yourself to learn there is no self. You get an explanation of suffering through an understanding of impermanence, and you learn that everything is a fear of death, being a fear of moving, a fear of changing, a fear of letting go of my desired outcome, right? So, but what is faith? What does faith do, right? The short answer, faith controls behavior. Faith controls behavior. Now, perfect faith is everything is going to be all right. That is perfect faith. And that masters that fear. That masters that fear. That works in conjunction with it, right? So, you can have faith in things that you don't see. That's what faith is. Sorry, I got derailed. Faith is believing in things that are not seen, whereas truth is believing in things that are seen. Faith is believing in things that aren't seen, and it works at a mechanistic level. We're still looking at the self here. It works to control your behavior. It works to help you conquer fear, right? Well, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I guess a car could come hurtling through my window, or a comet, or they could have World War III, or I'm gonna freaking die, and I'm gonna have a heart attack, but it's gonna be okay. I don't know that it's gonna be okay tomorrow, but if I believe it's gonna be okay tomorrow, it will be okay tomorrow, because I'm only existing in this moment. Tomorrow hasn't come yet, But when I start unraveling and I start trying to discern or figure out a truth in something I can't figure out a truth in because it isn't here, it's not seen, tomorrow is not seen yet, I can believe it will be okay and I will be okay. You see, and that's how faith works. And it's interesting because when I used to play a lot of music and be in bands and doing that whole thing, all the other bands and all the other musicians I played in, they weren't God people. They weren't into God. They were more Buddhists, actually, and they were taking a lot of drugs and they were feeling and experiencing themselves on all these drugs. And you know why? Because faith is the ultimate creative force. It's the ultimate, on the mechanistic level, faith is the ultimate creative force. Because when you're making art or when you're playing an instrument or when you're doing something like that artistically, everything's okay. It's the same space mentally. Like, you're open. Like, everything's okay. This is yang. Truth, left brain, that's yin. Faith, right brain, spiritual experience, that's yang. Like, these two things have to go together. Like, everything's going to be okay. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I quit my jobs. I don't know. I'm supposed to get this other internship. It's not coming through. I don't know. In 2 months, I'm going to have no money. I don't know. But you know what? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And when I say that, it puts me in presence. It puts me in presence. So what we see is that presence is the result. Presence is the way out of suffering. But without perfect truth and without perfect faith, we can't have presence. We can't be presence because we'll be spiraling in the analytical mind. If we don't know what perfect truth is, we'll be trying to figure out what perfect truth is, right? But if we have perfect truth and we see that we're trying to figure out some other truth we can't figure out and we know this, then we say, wait, I have faith. I have faith. It's going to be okay. And then that shuts it up and then you can be in presence. You see, the two work together, and that's how you attain mastery. Now, faith can be positive or faith can be negative. You can have negative faith based on the accumulation of your experiences with a specific thing. Now, positive faith is God. Positive faith is Jesus Christ. Positive faith is that something somewhere out there loves me, cares about me, is taking care of me, came here to save me when I couldn't save myself. Whatever narrative you want to put on it and apply to it, perfect faith is, it's okay. I'm cared for. I'm loved. I'm saved. Right? I'm cared for. I'm loved. I'm saved. Like, that's perfect faith. Like, and if you're trying to argue something else being wrong, something else not being right enough, something else gonna ruin everything, even if you say, I believe in God, I trust God, but this thing is happening over here, these Khazarians or these people ruling the world, they're gonna take, who cares? That's not perfect faith. Everything's not okay when you're concerned about the Khazarians or chemtrails or whatever. That's not perfect faith. Perfect faith says, God's got this. The universe has got this. Hey, I got this. I'm here right now in this moment, and that's perfect faith. And together, you can master yourself with both of those. Understanding that they're not the same. Understanding that they're both important, they're not the same, and they both take you to spiritual growth, spiritual understanding, and spiritual experience. I got this. Like when you travel, when you get on a plane and you go somewhere else, tremendous amounts of faith. You don't realize that's faith, but that's faith. It's going to be okay. I'm not going to get kidnapped. I'm not going to get mugged. I'm not going to get in a plane crash. I'm not going to get lost. I'm not going to get, stolen. It's gonna be all right. I can't read the signs. I don't know what hotel is. I don't know what this is. I don't know where I'm going to get my food. It's going to be okay. And you walk in that, and it is okay. It is okay. It's like when you get to that stage in the journey, the universe wants you to see that it's going to be okay. So it's okay. And it wants you to believe that it's going to be okay, so it's okay. One without the other will take you off. can get you lost. You need to have both. You trust your own experience, what you see to be your truth, and you have faith that whatever you do see is going to be okay. That some force greater than you in the universe is taking care of it. And it's going to work out for you. Of course, you have to do action. Of course, you have to work. Of course, you have to be there. You have to be alive. Unfortunately. But you can do this. You can do this if you have those two things. So, anyways, enjoy while we're here. Till next time, we'll talk again.